I didn't really know that till I got on the board and I started going to the conferences that we go to. But in terms of bringing in resources to our area, I saw this one graph. It was a kind of a specific program called RAD, and Fresno had brought in like $60 million, and the next city had brought in like $3 million, and then $2 million, and a couple I mean, we were so far off the scale. And in terms of reducing our homelessness numbers and all kinds of metrics, we were really a leader. And I think a lot of times, you know, unless you go out and see that from what other cities are doing or aren't doing as much as we are, you don't really get that perspective of how good some of our local entities are and our local leadership is. Preston was also the president of the national organization, so we were representing Fresno at a really high level, and I think that helps bring in the resources when you are engaged at that level too. And he also started this national trend for housing authorities to incorporate reading in K through 3 grades to really up our literacy and reading ability in Fresno Unified in particular, but really all over the county. And that has become kind of a national trend that started here. So that's,
good job.
Give him a big round of applause.
So I'm trying to remember when Craig and I first met, but we started having breakfast together, and we still do on Wednesday mornings. And I remember saying to him that I had an opening on my board and wanted to talk with him about ideas of who he thought would be a good person for me to talk to and to recommend to Mayor Swearingen to join my board. And he said, "What about me?" And I think that I kept my jaw from dropping. I'm like, what did I just get myself into? But it was wonderful when he joined our board. And what I really like on the housing, so we have 14 board members, 7 appointed by the Board of Supervisors, 7 appointed by the mayor. And what I think about what we need as a nonprofit, we don't need lawyers and we don't need the CPAs that many nonprofits do, because as our annual budget's about $200 million. We pay for all of those kinds of things. What we need are people who reflect the values of the community and who can help really think about how do we create a housing authority that's changing the trajectory of the community. And so Craig did that, really had us think hard about what happens in downtown and what's our role in downtown. This project came out of one of those breakfast conversations. How many of you remember the old Droge building with the stilts, right? I remember walking by that building when I was interviewing. I was staying at the old Radisson, the Doubletree now, walking to my interview, and I walked by it and I said, "That's a beautiful building. That would be wonderful to restore." So Craig approached me on that. Hi, Carl. This is one of my commissioners.
Wow. Hi, Carl. We've been waiting for you all morning.
We have been. You're supposed to say a few words, didn't you? No. I'm just going to take a second to tell Carl's story. So Carl was formerly homeless, and he has written a book. I'm going to tell just real quick about your book, Carl. Don't walk too far away. So his brother is Dennis Johnson, who I always say played for the Supersonics, but he points out that he played for the Celtics. And his book is about how 2 brothers can grow up, have kind of the same background, and have divergent kind of futures, divergent outcomes from that. And so he was homeless. He got into one of our housing programs, and now I joined our board maybe 3-4 years ago. I'm trying to remember when that happened. And has been really a great advocate of homeless issues on our board. So as I was saying, it's very similar to Craig, really bringing the downtown vision. So this development came out of that conversation of there's a building that's the gateway into downtown that's being held up with stilts. And that was not really the right thing for downtown revitalization. So we had conversations about what could the housing authority do to help transform that building. We spent a year looking at how we could save the building. So the Droge, we wanted to keep it, right? You and I were the advocates of like, how do we keep this building? And unfortunately, it had decayed to the point that it was chalk. And there was no way to save it, right? Without the roof that was on, or that was not on anymore, the structure was really unsalvageable. But this came out of it. This is CityView. It's 45 units of workforce housing and really kind of defines how the Housing Authority sees its role in downtown revitalization. That we were able to bring private equity. Our partner on this is US Bank. We were able to bring an investor to help do workforce housing. So everyone here makes between 20 to 30,000 a year. So downtown is what, 35,000 people who are working downtown? Is that the right number?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there? But a large number of those are people who are working either entry-level jobs or jobs that are paying, you know, the $10 to $15 an hour, who need affordable housing to access to their jobs. So we were really excited when we opened this. I think we opened it over Thanksgiving weekend. So the weekend before and the weekend after Thanksgiving, all 45 units got occupied. We do have a couple of vacancies right now we'll be able to take you through, but our occupancy level has always been in the 98, 99% since we opened the doors. Yes, sir?
Is that rent, is that overall in the city area? The rent is fairly cheap, at that $20,000 or $30,000 a year?
Well, no, actually, no. So you look at some of the work that Granville has done, and what we found is that there's a high demand for the market that we served, and then there's a gap, and then the market that they serve. So there's a gap for people who make like 30 to 50,000 a year, that there is not housing options in downtown yet. Hopefully, we'll be able to create that.
This is subsidized, right?
So the subsidy was on the capital side, not on the operating side. So the subsidy was just to help us build it, but the rents are not subsidized.
Oh, okay.
And who owns the building? The authority?
Yeah, so technically it's owned by this limited partnership of which US Bank has 99.99% ownership and the Housing Authority has 0.01%. But in year 15, we will become the owner. We're the owner for all intent and purpose, for all.
So, and the rents are covering operating costs? Is
They
that
are.
what you said?
They are.
So that's pretty good.
Because the debt is that the capital writes down the debt, so we don't have any debt on the property, and so the rents really just have to cover operating costs and reserves that we need for replacement and things like that.
So who pays the debt then?
We have very little debt, so I mean.
Well, is it?
It's
so
capital of
the capital cost.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's very. I'm glossing over. It's federal low-income housing tax credits that get allocated to us. We sold those tax credits to US Bank. So what they got, they gave us equity, and then in return they get tax credits from the federal government. So that's the primary tool. I know now this whole debate about what's happening.
Yeah,
Bernie
who's in
Sanders.
charge of housing now? At the federal level?
Oh, I know. Well, this is actually under IRS, so it's even crazier.
is?
So yeah.
That's pretty strange.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I just glossed over a program that's been around for about 30 years now, and 7 cents.
Created by Reagan.
Yeah, created under Ronald Reagan.
Future
1986.
projects for downtown?
Yeah, so where our property is, and I don't think you're going to.
Yeah, we'll go down that far.
I'll be able to talk about what's happening there. Hotel Fresno is the old building. Are you going to show people Hotel Fresno?
We can point to it.
So that's going to be 80 units of housing, but 40 of them will be affordable housing, and the other 40 will be market rate. Mehmet Noyan and Terrence Frazier are doing a housing development right here that's going to include affordable housing. So yes, lots of plans for downtown for housing and affordable housing, and we try to be a partner any way we can.
Who is the architect?
Mogavero out of Sacramento, and the contractor was Ashwood, which is here, our local contractor. And then what we after this happened, people in Reedley said, we want something like that in Reedley. So we have a development down there called Paseo 55 that's under construction, has commercial with housing above it. We did a mixed-use development in Kingsburg that has retail and housing, and so Craig has really created this opportunity for the Housing Authority to help communities, whether city or the smaller communities throughout Fresno County, create mixed income developments in their cores, the downtown core. So again, he really opened that up. The other thing, we do a lot of work in the area of homelessness. We just did our point in time. People see that on the news, that we're counting homelessness right now?
Yes.
So when I came here 9 years ago, it was about 5,000 homeless on the street. Our count last year was about 1,700. I'm really hoping that's going to go down again. We'll see if it continues. Some of you are going to say, no, it seems like the problem's worse. I can see why people say that. There's definitely a more spreading out of the homeless. Carl's over there shaking his head. Yes, I saw him sneak back in. But we really have, I think, as a community, done a great job. Nationally, we're seen as one of the leaders in addressing homelessness. We're close to ending homelessness for veterans, but we're also really close to ending homelessness for chronic homeless people, those who have been on the street for long periods of time. So, do you want to?
Yeah.
So those of you who can take the stairs, it'll be 4 flights up. Or no, which floor are you going to take?
Yeah, because I remember they moved in yesterday, so it's going to be on the 4th floor. They moved in.
All right. So if those of you who can take the stairs up, that'd be great. Those of you, my friend Mary's going to take the elevator for sure. So don't get in her way. She's mean with that stick of hers. But we'll meet on the 4th floor then, right? So you guys able to walk up 4 flights? If you're not, we'll see you up there. And then what we're going to try to do, Craig, is have people walk up to the rooftop, and if you want to be able to use that as a vantage point to talk about stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great. So you can lead us.
Sure.
We'll follow.
I'm going to let this close now.